Now let's talk about the role of banks that we have. So banks are just like a place where you can go. There could be a payment center that helps the economy exchange goods and services for money or other financial assets. They could be a place where you can meet a lender because you want to borrow money. They're the ones that are going to be handling those transaction costs. So instead of you trying to discuss with someone what interest rate to, you want to, pay at, the bank is going to just handle that for you. They're going to really reduce the transaction costs think of transaction costs as like going back and forth of negotiation. I want a lower price, you want a higher price, and we keep going back and forth. We're wasting time. And a bank is really going to cut out that wasting time part. And so banks are going to serve savers. They can be a place where you can save money. They can also be a place where you could borrow money. And all this is happening at the same place. So they are acting as a financial intermediary. What we mean by a financial intermediary is that they operate as that middle ground between the savers with financial assets that want to invest their money and an entity that will help people borrow assets who will pay an interest rate. So these could be banks, credit unions, mutual funds, financial advisors, life insurance. These are all examples of financial intermediaries where basically you're paying into it, right? So someone could benefit somewhere else. Right? So they are what is considered a financial intermediary. Basically what's happening here is if I wanted to borrow money, I'm going to get a loan, okay? And I can pay this loan, right? So I could use that money for a machine, okay? That machine's going to give me profits. So I take those profits and I pay off the loan and I have to pay interest. And I pay this to the bank. So the bank's going to go, thank you very much. I'm going to take this and I'm going to give it to where I got the money from. The bank gets money from savers. So the bank is going to say, hey, here's your interest. Thank you very much. And you can also withdraw money as well. So basically a saver has $1 million in the bank, so they can take out that $1 million whenever they want, okay? Because it's their money. And so they can take it out, and while your money is sitting there, the bank is going to be paying you interest. So you are like, oh, well, let me deposit money in there. If you're going to pay me interest, I'll deposit money in there so I can earn more money. And the bank's going to say, thank you very much. I'm going to make more loans with that. And the borrowers are going to take that money, pay interest. The bank's going to collect that interest, pay you interest, okay? And then around and around we go. So the bank is what is in the middle between the savers and the borrowers. Financial intermediary. A depository institution is an institution that accepts money deposits and then uses those to make loans. So that's another example of what's going on here. Okay, but the main thing about a bank is that they are a financial intermediary. So, as any business, if you have heard of the, how to run a business, is that you have what is called a balance sheet. So a balance sheet is basically an accounting tool that looks at how much money or how much assets you have, and then how much money that you owe. Okay? And so this is looking at assets, the item or value that a firm actually owns, and your liabilities, any amount or debt that a firm or individual owes somebody else. And then you finally have your net worth, which is basically if you own a lot of stuff but you don't owe anybody anything, this is your net worth. Because you have extra stuff. You don't owe anybody, but you still have stuff. This is your net worth. So basically, if you see all these celebrities that have a net worth of whatever, right, that means they own this much stuff minus their liabilities that they do owe somebody. Okay, so someone could have a lot of assets, right, like a car, house, and all those things, but their net worth could be really low because they have loans for the house and the car and everything else. So they owe a lot of money to whoever. So that's what net worth is. A bank capital, like whenever you hear like a bank has to have capital, that is the bank's net worth. So let's talk about what a balance sheet looks like for a bank. So what does a bank own? A bank can own loans. So basically when you borrow money from a bank, they're giving you money, okay? But that's the money that you pay back to them. So that's an asset for the bank, is loans. The bank can also own government securities. So you could buy things from the government, like a bond, because the government needs money, so you can buy a bond from them. The banks can do that as well. And then finally, they have reserves. So this is like extra money that they have. And these are all the things that the bank can own. They can own loans, U.S. Government securities, or reserves. Now, this total right here is 11 million. That is their assets. Their liabilities is going to be deposits, right? And what are these deposits? This is what the firm owes. Where did they get the money from? They got it from savers. These people came into the bank and deposited $10 million. So that $10 million is not the bank's. That $10 million is owed to the savers. So that is a liability for the bank. They owe someone $10 million. So they brought in 10 million, okay, and they have assets worth of 11. So with the thing with a balance sheet is that they have to be in balance. So if this is 11 and you have deposits of 10, that has to mean that you own $11 million worth of stuff, but you owe 10 of it. So $1 million is your net worth. So therefore, this has to be equal to 11 as well. A T account, so basically assets, liabilities. So a T account is basically used to measure your assets and liabilities. Assets are always on the left, liabilities are always on the right. Okay? And that's how a T account works. They have to be in balance. Your assets have to be the same as your liabilities. Okay? And so these are the different things that a bank can own. And the demand deposits is going to be the main thing that a bank has as a liability. Now, reserves are the extra money that a bank has. So the funds that a bank keeps on hand that it does not loan out or invest. Okay, so the Federal Reserve does require banks keep a certain percentage of depositors' money as reserves. So basically what's happening here for reserves is like you deposit $1,000. So the bank could take this money and they could just loan it out to somebody for $1,000. Okay. However, they could just loan out $800. So they got in $1,000, but they made $800 in loans. So they're putting $200 in their vault, in their reserves. So their reserves are $200. So reserves are the extra money that the bank keeps out, does not put as loans. We define net worth of a bank as its total assets minus total liabilities. If your bank is healthy, they will have a positive net worth. That means they're doing really well. If a bank has a negative net worth, then this means that like if you went to go and take back your money, it probably won't be there because they owe so much more money than they have on assets that they don't have your money anymore. Okay, so the bank would not be able to give you all of your money back. Let's say you had $1 million in there and the bank loaned out $1 million. Okay, well the money is out there, they don't have it. Okay, so if you went to go get your $1 million back, it's not there. So you gotta be careful. If your bank has a negative net worth, this could mean they are having some issues. All right? Just something to note. But the main thing here is reserves. They bring in money and they loan out some. If they keep the rest, that is reserves. Because the bank could go bankrupt. Bankrupt is basically where you don't have enough money to cover the money that you owe. And so this is a potential problem. Like if you had a high rate of loan defaults, like if you made a bunch of loans and then nobody paid them back, well, it's like, well, I gave you a loan, give me my money back. But if they can't give you your money back, your money is gone. And so if that money's gone, you're going to have some mismatch. The ability for consumers to withdraw banks' liabilities in a short time while customers repay its assets in the long term. So basically, when there's a default where someone owes you money, okay, and you're not able to get that back, that's going to cause a lot of issues. And so basically, we got to be careful when we're making loans in the long term of like, okay, if I make this loan today, I'm going to get paid back a little bit for 20 years. But what if somebody wants to take out their money within that time? So I got to be very, very careful about how much money I loan out just in case someone wants to take their money back. So here are some strategies to reduce risk. You could diversify. You could make loans or investments with a variety of firms to reduce the risk of being adversely affected by an event at one or a few firms. So basically, if you have a bunch of loans for cars, okay, like that's all the loans you have are for cars, and then something happens with the car market, well, everybody's going to be defaulting on their loans, and all of your money is gone because all of it was in cars. But if someone had car loans and you had loans for houses and you had bonds from the government, you have different areas that you could keep your assets. So if the car market defaulted, you are diversified to where you could still have your money with houses or the government bonds, so you don't lose all your money. All right, so you could sell some of the loans that they make in the secondary loan market. So basically what happens here is like if you make a loan, right, someone else can make a loan off of that. And there's a market for that as well. Or you could hold a greater share of assets. So like if you are a bank and you're like trying to be very, very cautious, you could just hold more reserves. So do less loans and do more reserves. And by doing this, that way you're ready to go if someone were to take back their money. In the next section, we'll talk about how money is actually created. I'll see you there.